We all love amusement parks. And what's the best part about amusement parks? For us, it's the coasters. So we're going to rank our top 10 coaster manufacturers. Hey, welcome in, guys. Today we are going to go over our top 10 roller coaster manufacturers. Now, for this list, we are going to do manufacturers that have coasters in operation and running, even if the company is not. So I'll let Marcus start us off with our list, and we'll get going.
Yeah, starting off with number 10, and number 10 is going to be Custom Coaster International. And that was the start of GCI's and the Gravity Group, which we all know, just great wooden roller coasters. And there's a lot of variety, and a lot of these were terrain coasters. But here's some of the cons of them. They are old, some roughness, but man, some of them are really freaking good. And some of those including Shivering Timbers, Boulder Dash, Ghost Rider, and of course none other than Ryan's Holiday World's own The Legend.
I've ridden Legend many, many times, along with the Raven, which is also CCI. Great roller coaster. But yeah, I just kind of piggyback on off what you said. It's kind of the start of what we love in wooden coasters. So yeah, I'll come around to number 9. We've got Aerodynamics. They are a pioneer of the roller coaster industry. They've done a lot of firsts. They have climbed a lot of mountains in terms of accomplishments for roller coasters, and their coasters are outdated because the company is also out of business. But they're also a little bit janky, but they are great rides. Some of them give some of the craziest forces. Rides like X2, the first 4-dimensional coaster, the start of that. You've got Magnum XL 200, and that is one of the most beloved roller coasters. Crazy airtime. You got Tennessee Tornado. Also at Cedar Point, you've got Gemini, and then at your home park, got the Bat. That's also Aerodynamics.
Really missing Vortex. Vortex goes down a few years ago, and man, I loved it, but it was pretty janky and had some. It's had some tough moments there, especially towards the end of its life, but it was beloved, and I absolutely loved it. So Aerodynamics really cutting edge. I feel like they helped give us and establish.
Yeah, without Magnum, that kind of, again, Coaster Wars, that kind of kept everything going.
They got things spearheaded. Another company that's really hit the ground running and just provide some very unique experiences, and that's going to be number 8. We're ranking Gerstlauer, and these coasters, tons of inversions, and some of the things is that they're beyond vertical, going in different ways. One of the roller coasters I've ridden from Gerstlauer is Mystery Mine, and that chain lift goes 90 degrees straight up, and then it's got beyond vertical drops as well. So they've got a lot of different coasters that really just provide just a really good, unique experience.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing to talk about. Gerstlauer, it just feels very different than a lot of the other coaster experiences, for sure.
Yeah, Gerstlauer is making a lot of waves, and they actually hold the coaster that has the most inversions, that world record, and just some other coasters. That coaster in specific was the Smiler, but some of the other ones include Hang Time at Knott's Berry Farm, Monster, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce this last one.
Schwarz des Karnen, and that's in Hansa Park, Germany, and it's supposed to be one of the best coasters in the world. So, yeah, but
bucket list item for Europe.
Yeah, so again, I mean, it's just kind of stuff that you don't find really anywhere else with the Gerstlauers, and that's what makes them so unique. Those beyond vertical drops are crazy, and those inversions are even more crazy. So number 7, we have, moving on. We've got GCI, one of the now companies that was CCI. GCI, great wooden roller coasters. What kind of sticks out to me, especially if you're comparing it to stuff from Gravity Group, is just how smooth these coasters are. They can keep that out of control feeling, but also be smooth, and just many great coasters from GCI. You've got Wood Coaster in China, which we haven't been on, but looks like one of the best coasters in the world. It looks incredible. Mystic Timbers from your home park, which I love. And then Woden and Wickerman over there in Europe, and then rounded out with Gold Striker, just as a few of the top GCIs out there.
Some of these coasters, especially that you mentioned, and Mystic Timbers in specific, I think it was El Toro Ryan came out and said that they were essentially an RMC because it was so smooth.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that you have a wooden roller coaster that can provide that smooth of an experience, but also that intense of an experience, just speaks to how great of a manufacturer that they are. And they're coming in at number 7
Number
on the
7.
list. So plenty more great ones to go. And the next one, going on from those wooden roller coasters, number 6, the Gravity Group, kind of the other half of that one.
My goat.
And your goat, yeah. And there's a reason why, because they made
We're unbiased here.
the Voyage. And the fact that you have the number one, your number one coaster, the manufacturer all the way down at number 6, again, speaks to how great
they just don't have, as they don't have the volume like other like other manufacturers.
Well, they of course are wooden roller coaster manufacturer, Shimmy Woodman. That's why he loves the Voyage. And essentially, Gravity Group, each and every ride feels different, and the layouts are more unique than GCI. Some of the cons, though, they can be rough, and I think that you can experience some of those moments. I've had my complaints, and I voice those potholes that the Voyage had, but still, not taking away from the ride, but some of those rides can be rough.
Yeah, just a couple of notable coasters with Gravity Group, Voyage, of course. Hades 360 at Mountain Olympus, great coaster. Boardwalk Bullet, and then Switchback. They are also finally starting to come out with some family coasters that run super smooth. I know Six Flags just opened Bobcat this year, so
great skate.
Some great family smoother rides too. They're kind of at the forefront for actually making things wood smoother, which is kind of ironic, but they're doing Titan track to a lot of kind of rough old woodies, and they're making them a lot better. So Gravity Group, number 6. Now going into the top 5, we have someone who, if you saw a list 5 years ago, would be on the top 10 worst manufacturers. Now they're on the best, and that's Vekoma. Vekoma, when you think of Vekoma, if you don't really know their new school rides, you're probably thinking of like the SLCs, the boomerangs, kind of your rough headbanging rides. And now from what they're producing, it's quite the opposite. They are producing some of the smoothest rides in the entire industry. The family coaster, just absolute titan in that industry. Disney World, they're huge in Disney World, but even outside of Disney World, they're opening up incredible rides. Some of which Big Bear Mountain, Dollywood, great roller coaster. Expedition Everest at Disney World. You've got Tron, Cosmic Rewind, and then probably the best flying coaster in the entire world in Fantasia Land, and that is Fly. So they are great manufacturer. They really turned it around, and they deserve this top 5 spot for sure.
I think so too, and I think that they're catering to a lot of different groups of roller coaster riders, and I mean we got to experience 2 new ones at our home parks this year with Snoopy Soapbox Racers and Good Gravy, and I mean just it really is some of the smoothest rides that you can ask for, and I completely agree. Unfortunately, they were a manufacturer that just didn't provide, in my opinion, just good riding experiences, because one of them is, the inverted boomerang with Invertigo at Kings Island. And I've, gone on record, I don't like it.
And that's probably good compared to some of their SLCs that
there was a T2 at Kentucky Kingdom that I rode, and it wasn't, a good ride. And they ended up, I think,
it's not there anymore.
Not there anymore. It was T3, and they just took it down I think a couple of months ago. So definitely I think that they've turned things around, and I think very deserving of that number 5 spot. But the number 4 spot is a coaster company that I think Ron and I can both agree could easily start working their way up into the top 3. And based on their new coasters for 2024, um, some of the best coasters in the world as of right now, and that's Mock Rides, and they're coming on super strong. A big presence in Europe, and we see that this year because of Hyperia and Voltron, and you can't forget the Mach Extreme Spinner, Ride to Happiness, and you've also got Time Traveler at Silver Dollar City, and so they are definitely a manufacturer that's trying some different things. The Striker model is definitely one that um, has it's a new concept, and they've made it to where a lot of people love that ride.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think that Mock Rides is kind of trying a whole bunch of new things. The extreme spinners are really popular. They're going to start popping up everywhere, I think. Some of their launch coasters are great, and they can make a hyper coaster, it turns out. So
Yeah.
I really think this is one that could be pushing for number one in a couple of years. So I'm very excited to see what they'll have for the future. So now we're to the big top three. If you know roller coaster manufacturers, you probably know what our top three are, but in which order is the question. We'll kick it off with number three. We've got B&M. I know. A lot of people are gonna be angry at that because they are the most consistent. They have the most different kinds of coasters. Anytime you think of a dive coaster, anytime you think of an invert, anytime you think of a flying coaster that's not fly, you think of B&M. Their hyper coasters obviously huge, and they also do giga coasters. They do everything. Why they're number three is for us is because they play it safe a lot. There's a lot of times there's pros to that. It's more reliable, and it's more smooth most of the time. I know that B&M rattle, but it's more smooth most of the time. But they do definitely play it safer than our top two manufacturers. So I mean, just a few of the greats. There's hundreds and hundreds, but a few of the greats. Obviously, Fury 325 is one of the best coasters in the world. You've got
Yep.
Leviathan and Orion as other gigas. You've got the hypers like Diamondback and Mako. You've got the inverts like Montu, Nemesis, and then just a dive coaster, Yukon Striker. You got the fly coaster. You got Tatsu. You got every kind of ride with B&M. And again, you could rearrange these top three, and I don't think anyone would say that you're wrong. It's just kind of opinion at that. And then we just think the top two kind of do a little more variety, and they're willing to take the risk, I guess, a little more than B&M.
And I think that whenever you think of B&M, it's kind of a good mix of quantity and quality because you're
Yeah.
getting a quality coaster, but you think of any park that is around you, and more than likely they're going to have a B&M, and so there's a lot of quantity there. So I think that they put all of those variety of models into so many different parks, and I've been blessed to be able to experience a really good Giga, a fantastic Hyper at Kings Island, and honestly one of the top B&M inverts as well.
Yeah.
And so all of them provide a different riding experience, um, and I think that causes some good conversation to have. You do hear of the B&M rattle, but they're still a smooth coaster, folks.
Yeah.
And so very deserving of a top three, but I completely agree. I don't think that they push the mold because when you hear B&M, you kind of know what you're getting, and I
Yeah.
think parks like that.
With
They
the
like the
exception of
fact,
Fury 325, I agree with that statement.
yeah, but yeah, but you're exactly right. But a
That's the only
higher
coaster they
capacity and
have that you're like, okay, this is one of the top coasters in the world, I'd say.
yes, yeah,
So,
man. And so they're not pushing the mold, too far,
yeah.
but they know what their brand is, and the brand is high capacity and consistency.
Yeah.
So very deserving of a top three spot. But just as we've alluded to, the top two have pushed the mold even further. And number two gives away kind of number one, but
Yeah.
number two is Intamin. And how can they not be? For several decades, they have been around and they have done some awesome things from the original Giga to one of the best coasters around right now in Velocicoaster, and not just Millennium Force being the original Giga. It stood the test of time too.
Yeah.
They are doing so many things. They've got different models. They've got Hagrid's, they've got King Ka as well, and oh my goodness, I haven't even mentioned Top Thrill Dragster.
Yeah.
Um,
I-305,
I-305, and then whenever it comes to wooden roller coasters, one of the best out there,
Yeah.
El Toro. So, I mean, you go down the categories here, and they've done it. They've made it intense. They made it great. How can they not be?
And again,
Number
they've
two?
just pushed the envelope more than B&M. For
Yeah,
sure, in
yeah,
my opinion. That's why I also think they deserve to be in the top two, is because they just push the envelope. They break records, and they're just so unique with their rides and their launches and their gigas and kind of everything. But it's an incredible manufacturer and definitely deserving of a top two spot for sure.
Well, and you look at the Coaster Wars. I mean, a lot of the Coaster Wars, as it was happening, look at the manufacturer. They were
Yeah.
intimate, and so
Yep.
I mean that just they helped continue to push those and break those records. And Intamin is one of the top in the roller coaster business, so very deserving of the number 2 spot.
Yeah, very deserving of the number 2 spot. And again, that kind of gives away number 1. But number 1 is, of course, RMC, which is crazy because they are one of the newer manufacturers, if not the newest, on this list. But they are number 1, and it is because every single roller coaster they come out with is an absolute banger. They don't have any weak coasters, and whether it's their wood topper truck, whether it's, of course, their hybrid, whether it's their single rail, their Raptor. It's just everything is a great coaster. You can't name a bad RMC. There's just not one. And then as far as the top goes, you've got Steel Vengeance, Iron Gwazi, and Zadra are known as some of the top coasters in the entire world. And it's just, they're so consistent. The elements are so great. The airtime is insane, and the intensity is always there. And they do that with it being a perfectly smooth ride. It's just crazy how good this manufacturer is. And I mean, I hope they don't slow it down and they keep pushing out. There's a reason everyone wants an RMC in their park. Everyone, and it's because they are the highest quality roller coasters on the planet, and I don't see that changing at all. I think it's just going to keep going and going and going and going. Again, this is a very new company we're talking about.
I'd be lying if I said that, I'm just anxiously awaiting for Kings Island's next roller coaster to be announced as an RMC. And, the chances might be slim, due to the Cedar Flags relationship there. But I mean, a bad RMC is going to be almost number 1 at just about any single park.
Yeah.
And that's just wild.
Yeah. If they have an RMC, even if it's one of the lower to middle tier RMCs, it's 1 or 2 in the park. It's not any lower than that.
And the fact that's a thing is just speaks to their greatness, and the things that they can do. And I mean, I absolutely love Still Vengeance and everything that it's able to accomplish. But the fact that you can have a conversation of Still Vengeance, who's supposed to be one of the best coasters in the world, and a lot of people say Iron Gwazi is right there, and then Airy Force One down in Atlanta.
Yeah,
I mean, they've just got hit after hit after hit.
And then you've got like their topper track with Lightning Run or Lightning Rod and Outlaw Run. I'm switching those two, but Wonder Woman and Railblazer with the single rail. It's just every single model they have is incredible and a top coaster. That's what we think are our top 10 roller coaster manufacturers. Let us know what you think in the comments, and we'll kind of compare and contrast on our different thoughts. So
yeah, give us a like, subscribe as well. We have loved hearing from you these last few weeks, really getting to hear what your all's thoughts are as well. So be sure to give us a like, subscribe. You can find our podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. So trying to put the podcast out everywhere that it can. So be sure to as well give us a follow on X at Coaster Rants, as well as TikTok. So a lot of comments on there too. So be sure to stay tuned. We've got plenty more content coming up.
All right. Until next time, we'll see you later.